Under the sun.
Under the sun, bro.
Your beard looking bad, thick. Thank you, man. I think we can do our soft open now. Well, thank you guys all for tuning into the stream. I know there's a lot of people scrimming, a lot of scrims going on that you guys might be interested in watching. So for those of you who came over here to watch us chat about Call of Duty, much appreciated. Last week we decided to bring this back, kind of like an open format where we just talk about COD esports, and we had 500 viewers the whole time, which was pretty cool. We got 13,000 views and 1,500 downloads in the first episode. So that's pretty cool, man. So I just want to say thank you, first and foremost, for you guys supporting it. And also shout out to the 2 people that just subbed. We'll talk about you guys at the end of the stream. But let's kind of open it up. I have some funny tweets or a Reddit post I want to show you guys as we start this off. IW released a patch tonight where the chicken gets it. This is actually the Modern Warfare just Reddit. I thought these were like silly, pretty funny. This one had me dying, bro.
This is hilarious.
Yeah. Piccadilly, Mario. And then
one is so bad in pubs, man.
It is bad, dude. We could talk about it more and more later when we get into the maps, and then one more. This is probably the funniest tweet of the whole week, bro. This literally just like defines the public experience in COD right now.
Oh, and here comes a freaking airplane! Fantastic! You bitch, I'm so... Fuck!
Yo, I was dying watching this shit.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh my god, bro.
Bro, have I died to someone that's not camping, bro? Or a claymore? I don't think I have.
Right there, yo, I'm uninstalling. If that hasn't happened to me yet, 3 in a row, dude. That has not happened
to me.
to your
It just
boy
makes
yet.
you get off the game. It makes you leave the game.
Yeah, it really makes you leave the game. All right, so now we got some people in here. So last week where we ended was we ranked the teams, right? Me and Pac-Man did our rankings of the squads, which I'm going to pull up on the screen for you guys right here. As you can see, we were a little bit different on sort of the middle area. Our top 4 was pretty similar. That's where it started to get a lot different. And obviously, a lot of you guys disagreed with us. That's why we gave you guys the opportunity to post your list to Twitter. We went through a bunch of them, and I have a couple that I'm going to pull up here, and we could talk about them a little bit. This one was hilarious. Zinni tweets, Ultra and Rocker.
I just want to know why he picked the rocker to put in the definitely trash category.
Yeah, like...
Zinni's a clown, but...
Like, why, dude? Is this a rivalry? Like, oh, I know what it is. It's like the North thing. They think they're more North than Minnesota, so they're trying to, like... That's what it is, though. It's like
Who wants to be the most North?
Who's going to rule the North, Ultra or Rocker, John? Which one? Who's the king of the North?
I gotta go with Ultra, I guess.
You gotta go with Ultra, dude?
Toronto, Minnesota beef. I mean, if Zinni's bringing up beef, that means he cares, man. He has that fire, so he has to beat the Rocker, right?
I don't know, man. I think Silly might... I think he might destroy Zin in hand-to-hand combat. I don't even think it'd be close.
Oh, hand-to-hand combat. Silly's killing Zin.
All right, speaking of Silly, here goes his list. So, his was pretty interesting. It looks like he did this super quick just to put Ultra on the bottom.
Yeah, he threw some names in. He threw Empire up top and Chicago so he doesn't get roasted like we did. And then Ultra at the bottom.
Yeah.
Silly smart guy.
This is a lazy-ass list. You don't get points for this. I'm out of here. Joe Fries, man. A lot of you guys might not know who he is. He's like a videographer for a lot of teams. He did a lot of the Empire stuff, so heavy bias.
Super heavy bias on this list.
But all right, so Empire has been dominating scrims lately. Like,
they have. They're right now, it's not even a debate. Empire's the best team in the game for sure right now.
Yeah.
But that's not really how it goes. But, it is what it is.
So here's his list. We talked about all this stuff last week, powering stuff, so we're not going to spend too much time on it, guys, but we do got to bring up some of the tweets up. Wow, definitely trash. Joe Fry's just throwing him in there. Ultra in Paris. Oh, my. Why is Joe Fry's ranking teams? You asked me. I was Search and Destroy works last time. All right, moving on. Here's a fan. Dateless __ Mike's list. So, OGLA and FaZe. All right. Empire, Shy. Yeah, this is pretty good, man.
I mean, yeah, this is a solid list. He has Chicago higher than we did, and Subliners lower. But in general, that's a pretty good list. I think everyone's bottom is around the same. It's usually Ultra, Gorillas, and Paris.
Yeah.
It's
It's a
usually
pretty
everyone's
safe
bottom.
list. This pretty much on point, I think, in terms of like if you're just being safe. I like that. Not really standing out. Okay, so Galactic VGC says based on the rumored rosters and event performance so far, honestly, Dallas should probably just be an A, but they've been crushing it. Interested if they can keep it up. So he's basing it off kind of like right now and the roster. So he's like kind of like a hybrid opinion.
They do have talented players. It's a safe bet to put them at the top right now. I mean, other teams have a lot of catching up to do, but they also have the time to do it with. The first event's not as quick as it normally is in the year.
A trend, obviously, in these was I saw a lot of lists with Empire like first and Chicago number 2. And then a lot of people were like ranking like subliners pretty low, like in my mentions, which is kind of crazy. But I guess I could see where people come from with that. All right, moving on. This guy's list, I wish people would have spread it out a little bit more. Like maybe like, but I like it. All right, here we go. Here's kind of a spread one. You can tell he put a decent amount of thought into this. He has Empire first, Chicago, Optic. Huntsman. Obviously, we can call him
the Huntsman and then the LA Optic, right?
See, this is where he got confused. You can tell. These three, he didn't know what to do here.
I gotta speak. Well, I see Kismet in your chat saying, bro, no way people doubting us this much. But realistically, Kismet, you're being compared to the best teams in the world. I don't think people are calling you bad. It's just when you look at the other teams, your guys' team is lacking, like, on paper right now compared to the other teams. And that's just a fact. It's up to you to prove us all wrong and tell us to shut up. But looking at your roster, there's no way you expect people to put you up at the top of these lists with these other teams.
Yeah.
That's just the truth.
Yeah, after our show, there wasn't many pros who really said anything about me and your opinion. Zed did post in the Reddit, like somebody made a Reddit thread of our rankings, and Zed posted in there, it was the top comment, and he goes, how are we definitely trash when we haven't played a match yet? We were doing power rankings going into the season based on our opinions on the rosters on paper. We're not saying that, you know, you guys just can't win a single match. And I think the best thing to do in that situation is just to prove us wrong, right? Like, I don't see, like, what that's going to really do. I just don't understand why he said the things he did there.
People look at lists. They're never going to be happy seeing their name at the bottom, but
yeah,
the nature of competition, someone has to end up at the bottom. So
yeah, it's a ranking. It's an opinion before things actually happen. Obviously, these will all change when teams actually start playing. But I just thought it'd be interesting to get the community going, kind of see where people's heads are at on what they thought of the rosters. All right, moving on to our last list. Empire and Huntsman. Optic
that is
phase.
A very common one, too. I think, so people are mostly Huntsman fans,
let's
be honest here. And then Empire's just destroying everyone, so everyone goes, okay, we're not the best yet, but we're number 2. So we're going to put Empire number 1 and Huntsman number 2 because we just know, we believe. I mean,
yeah,
maybe they will be. Who knows?
Yeah, this guy's list. I mean, the two trends that we saw were Empire and Huntsman at the top, and then Paris and Gorillas at the bottom. So those are like the unanimous agreements across the community. And yeah, I mean, I could see where people are coming from with that. I think a lot of people haven't even seen those two teams at the bottom play at all yet, or any of those players really involved. And then Empire's been dominating online, and also Huntsman have some of the fan favorites. So it makes sense why that would be the current trend and what we saw. All right, let me switch back over here. So I appreciate you guys interacting with that, man. I thought it was pretty cool. But let's get into some of the main topics of this episode of the show. Let me bring this on over here. So, obviously, there's still been a lot of negativity, especially this week, because teams have started to scrim a lot, right? Like, pros have been outspoken. What are some of, like, the biggest things you think you've heard from the pro side of things in terms of complaints?
I mean, mostly, obviously, it's just going to be spawns. Like, they've come to grips with the maps and what they're going to be. You can't change them, right? But the spawns, a lot of clips and a lot of complaining about the spawns and how they work and how there's no way to spawn people out, or when they do push up, they're not getting rewarded for it. And if you watch the minimap, it's pretty true. Like, there's a lot of issues going on. But, I mean, Ashton in this tweet says that they're going to address the bugs. And Ashton is the senior communications manager at Infinity Ward. So she's an important person to know and talk to. I mean, hopefully they fix the spawns, but I think spawns is one of the most difficult things to do in all of games. Like, a respawn mode like Hardpoint is so quick. It takes a long time to get them right, and they have a long way to go right now in both Hardpoint and Domination.
Like, my thing about the spawns is, like, so we've had more time to kind of, like, pay closer attention to it. Like, when we first started playing Respawn and watching teams play, Like it was a combination of not really knowing, and the game just coming out. Like so, I didn't really know how bad the spawns were. So now after I've watched a lot and I've played a lot more, it feels like they put like zero time into making spawns in Hardpoint. Like even in Domination, the spawns are just terrible. Like people spawn right next to each other, in front of each other. And I think when you're trying to scrim, I know when you're trying to scrim and you're trying to get better as a team, it's going to be extremely frustrating. You're going to hear some of the pros say some crazy things and spew some crazy hate towards the game, because when somebody's spawning right next to you, that means the spawns make no sense, and that means the game makes no sense, and that means you can't get better. There's no logic towards the game. So that's why a lot of people are being so negative. And this actually happened today, which is insane. I watched this live when they were scrimming. This is St. Petro, and they're pushed up here. They're not really pushed past it, like too many people, and they spawn right behind them. Like number one is literally in the back, like right here. Like I don't understand how this happens. You know what I mean? Like how
this is unacceptable, plain and simple. And this has been an issue that's happened. I think I want to say it started in MW2 actually. This game is the worst of it all, but they started switching up the spawns because people were complaining about getting spawn killed in public matches. So now if you put a little bit of pressure, they're spawning out, but they increased that pressure line in this game to the point where they're barely past the like 60% mark, and they spawn right behind one of their players. You cannot prepare for that. If you have A and B flag, they should be spawning at C, like totally. If you have all three flags, they should be spawning deep C.
Like look at this,
that's how the game should work, and that's how Domination works as a game mode. And these spawns are just atrocious.
Like there is nobody. Like okay, so they have B, right? So the logic of the game, do they not want you to pass the like B point? Like it's too noob proof, right? So this is one of our competitive modes, Domination, right? And usually what you can do is you can push up and potentially spawn trap a team and get that C flag, and they will spawn out at A if you get a trip cap and you have to wrap back to get it. But in this game, if you get close to their C flag at all and there's players that you're killing, they're going to spawn behind you. Like there's not even a player on the opposing team that's past anybody on this team, right? Like they should never get that spawn, and that's not competitive. That's something that needs to be fixed, and I hope the and more in Ashton's tweet addresses spawns, because first and foremost, I think that needs to be fixed. Here's another one that's insane. This one is this is pure
you have to slow
chaos.
down and explain what happens in this clip.
The quality. This is through Twitter, so the quality's obviously not going to be that great. This is the Surge scrimming the subliners. This is from Zuma's point of view, and they're playing hardpoint, right?
I'm on my way. You flanked the street. You went pillars. Like I'll get him pillars. I'll get him three.
So I'm gonna try putting it on the minimap for you guys.
Down, down. Got him. I got one.
Two, let's go.
So number 6 right here, the Codcaster is a little bit messed up, chat. So he's currently in the hill. That's gonna be Temp.
Big moves that Trey. I'll help you though. Street one.
Explain you why these pros are getting so frustrated.
They're gonna spawn back bar, guys.
There's another one in new Trey.
Should be blocking this shit. But yeah, the mystery.
So, alright, first of all, let me explain what just happened that was messed up already. A bunch of players just spawned in the center of the map for the opposing team. So, like, another thing a lot of players are complaining about is spawning on cuts. John, I'm sure you've noticed that when you've been watching scrims. You spawn in positions to cut the other team off. That's also an issue.
No, he's in there, in the room.
Alright, so Temp is running out of the hill right here, if you can see this triangle. And a guy spawns right in front of him. Like, it's not competitive.
Damon tweeted out that he didn't have time to even pull out his gun. That's just not supposed to happen.
So right here, a player spawns, and another player spawns directly next to him. You were talking about this before we went live, like how big of an issue that is. Like
Look at the spawn. That spawn is unacceptable. Like the problem, there's no preparing for this stuff. There's nothing you can do ever to mentally prepare for someone to spawn literally next to you, and you shouldn't have to. Really, the team has control of the hill. They haven't broken anything. They haven't done anything. There's just so much wrong with it right now, and that's why you see players complaining, and that's why you see a lot of teams taking different approaches to scrims. So right now, maybe some teams are taking that, like, let's play the game so we know spots, so we can learn how people play, but they're not taking them too seriously to the point where they're getting angry about the losses they're taking and even taking in too much of the information, because they're just so sure that the fix is going to come in.
Yeah.
Some teams are taking it super serious, like, this is the game we're dealt with, this is the game we got to get ready for, and come late January to win.
That's a pretty good mindset to have, is just to play and just get through it. I mean, it sounds great in theory until you're scrimming and you're trying to get better and something happens that just triggers you. It's going to make you angry, right? Like, so I kind of understand the frustration. I do think a lot of pros could do a better job of, like, keeping their rage off of stream because they're streaming their scrims right now, right? Because there has been a lot of rage, but I think like Activision is aware of this. Like Ashton tweets out, or Infinity Ward rather tweeted out that they're going to be fixing things. It just takes a little bit, right? Like these updates take some time. I thought we would have one in this last week, but unfortunately not. Hopefully before we air the next episode on Wednesday, we'll have an update that we can speak about. But I think the next thing to talk about would be like the maps, right? Like we're still waiting on for them to confirm if we're gonna get some new maps or not, because these maps right now, like in combo with the spawns, is also kind of making it unplayable. Let me show this up here. This was hilarious.
This is a troll, man.
What? Like, why did they do this?
I don't know why they trolled. This right here actually, like, so I personally would never have found this out. But if I was creating the game, I would know that someone out there, it takes one person on the internet to find out that you trolled them and put invasion in the game. Like, just to do it. There's no reason to do this.
Whoever made this map was like really wanting to troll the community, like, because I actually do think invasion would work well in this game, right? Like, if the map's in it, like, let's just render it up a little bit and drop this shit. You know what I'm saying? Let me get invasion.
I don't even need details on my maps. Just drop the damn map, put the door back in right
there.
Yeah,
I don't need any cars.
Let's go.
We're cool, man. Dude, what's funny about this is, like, they put it on the outside of Euphrates Bridge. Like, the ultimate disrespect. Yes, this is Fear Moogly. This is invasion. You remember this map, right? This would be a map. One of the maps I think would work 5v5, John.
An exact replica by size and everything. Like, the dimensions are exactly like Invasion was.
Yeah, it's the same. This is so funny to me.
It's out of bounds. They could have just put anything over here. That's why it's 100% a troll. It could have just been like just dirt. Who cares? It's out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Invasion.
I hope they drop that map though. But Invasion actually isn't listed in this this tweet right here. So this is the latest update as 38 maps to the files. These are not yet playable. So this tweet, what I gather from it is that like these are a lot of maps that they're testing, because obviously they're not going to drop this many goddamn maps, but they put them in the game. What I heard is they put them in the game to test them out, and some will make it, some won't. Right? I'm not entirely sure, but here's a list. And are there any on here that you remember from old games?
Obviously, we could drop Crash. They should just. I don't even care if Crash plays horribly on the game. Just drop it in the game. Give options to the players, please.
Mm-hmm.
Stub Base is a map from Modern Warfare 2 that I actually think could work well in this game. I don't know if you guys remember it.
I think I have it up in a tab.
If you could pull it up for them. Yeah, like, I don't know if you guys remember this map, but we played it a bit in Search and Destroy, and in that game, it wasn't one of the best maps, but in this game, it probably become quickly one of the better maps in the game. Like, it's not a bad map at all, and I think that it has enough space where 5v5, it could be a completely viable map.
I think this would instantly be one of the best maps. Like, I think maybe it was like a little bit, like the way it played, like it was a little bit too big and slow, and like when it was 44 back in the day, and we just had an abundance of great maps, so maybe we just didn't play it. But I remember having fun on this map. I don't remember it being too bad, especially for Search and Destroy. So if this is a map that comes out, I think this would be pretty cool, and I think it would instantly be one of the better maps. But yeah, that's one of them that they have on here. And then there was another one. What was the other one that? Oh yeah, so Stadium. So they have Stadium on here. I do not think this would work at all. This is a map from Black Ops. I remember this one.
The MW3 or Black Ops 1? Stadium.
This is Black Ops.
Okay. I actually don't even really remember this map in Black Ops 1, which means it probably wasn't that great.
This was in 2 games. Wasn't this it? This was in another COD, I think, too. I don't know. Either way, I vaguely remember this map, and I mean, who knows? Maybe it could work, but it just seems like there's just too much shit on the actual map. But either way, they just need to drop some new maps ASAP. Oh, BL2 as well.
Leaner in the chat says, I feel like any old map will be so good in this game. These maps just have no flow that are in the game now. And that's just a sentiment that comes because you just clearly don't like the design flow that they went with in this game. But not all old maps will work with the game design and how the movement works and how sound works. You got to really put these maps into this new game and predict how people would play.
I mean, old maps won't always work. Like
old maps don't always work.
Take
even
like
the great old maps.
Yeah, take Crash, one of the greatest maps of all time, right? So Crash is on this list. I actually don't think it'll work well in this game. One, Crash back in the day, it was a great map because one, 4v4 in Search and Destroy, you can stun, nade, and push certain areas. Things would be unpushable in today's day and age of Call of Duty, right? Like if there's a trophy in COD 4, like what are you doing anymore? Like you can't push 3-story anymore. You know what I mean? So things change a lot, guys. I know some of your favorite
even
maps.
things to get control, like pre-nades.
Yeah.
Like, people just have flakjacking nowadays. Like that wasn't a thing. So I pre-nade you, and they just run straight through them because they just simply don't care. Or you have to use multiple nades to take control of an area. Now you don't have nades and you don't have control. The game definitely plays different than you guys think in the past, and there's just another player on the map. That also
Slums
adds
5v5 would be so hard to break hills. Think about it.
They already added something to Black Ops 4, and that map was horrible too.
You know what I'm saying? So like, I don't know I mean, some of these maps I have no idea. Like these could just be completely like, well, obviously some new maps. Like I just hope that they're great. TV station. I thought that maybe that would be like broadcast, and if that is broadcast, that's also unplayable. But there's a lot of maps in here, so there's hope, right? Hopefully they come up with some maps soon that they can drop. That would be fantastic. But I feel like it has to be soon, because if they drop like a bunch of maps that we add to our competitive rule set, all these guys have to like get familiar with maps, and that takes a couple of days, like a week or two, and new spawns. So these guys might be playing an entirely like new game soon, which would be insane for the whole community. But Lord knows we need it. Other than that, like, there hasn't been much else that's been announced this week in terms of updates and stuff. I think we're all still waiting. So moving on to the next segment of the show, which is the nitty gritty on what we wanted to go through here today, is a couple days ago, I put up a Reddit thread for you guys to go and ask us questions, right? This is going to be a common trend each show, as long as we don't get too many overlapping questions. We're going to go through the Reddit post for the episode and kind of let you guys pick our brain a little bit. And also, if you guys have statements and feedback, it doesn't even have to be a question. We can just bring it up on the show and talk about it. So yeah, let's pull that up right now. And as you guys know, me and Pac-Man aren't actually the most popular people on Reddit. So in a lot of threads, there is some hate.
What do you mean? Reddit loves me.
I don't know about that one, John.
I saw a Red post the other day that said, I think Pac-Man hates Scump or something like that. Something along those lines. Where do you guys get this stuff? I swear. Like,
I saw a Reddit post. Dude, I see the funniest thing there. Like, this guy was like, I hope Nameless never gets a job ever again anywhere. It's like, wow, you don't even know me, dude. You really just want me to like be unsuccessful for the rest of my life? All right. But anyways, let's get into this. I'm going to sort it by best. We're not going to answer every single thing in here. Some of these are literally setting us up for failure. But if there's a question like you feel like you want to answer that I don't, or that I want to answer you don't, we can go for it. You know what I mean? And then at the end, we could also go over some of the chats things. But most overrated player by fans. Do you want to tackle that one?
Most overrated player by fans? I don't want to answer that. I feel like that's setting us up to be roasted by whoever.
Absolutely.
And also, being most overrated does not mean you're bad. So I definitely don't even want to go down that road.
Why does this guy say we can't see? Is it too small? I was looking at the chat.
Oh, probably have to zoom in on it for them.
All right, is that a bit better, my guys? You guys like that? Bang! Look at that. That's pretty big. Yep. All right. Moving down. Last season, after his transfer to Splice, a lot of people said if Hook is ever going to win a championship, this will have to be it. What is your opinion on him now, after both of you had been incredibly high on him in the past? Says Joe Rod 1, a supporter of the Dallas Empire. So I think the wording of your question is like a bit weird. You said last season after transfer, if Hook's gonna win a championship, this will have to be it. I think what a lot of people were saying was like this is his best chance to win a championship with his new team because he got what he wanted, right? He was on a bad team before, with that MV roster. Then he got onto Splice, which was like a really good roster with players with Looney, who's won, and with players like Jerd, who are great, Aqua, and Temp, who was one of the best players in the game. So I think that a lot of people just thought that it was his best chance in that game. What's your take on that?
I mean, my opinion on him now, even after he didn't win, is that Hook's a beast. I know, like, after after that time on Splice where he still didn't win and he had a bad year, placing wise, that people stopped thinking that Hook was a beast. I'm not in that camp at all. I think that Hook's eventually going to be seen as one of the best players in the game consistently. Like his individual skill is on another level, and I mean, Call of Duty's very year to year. You can end up on a team where it just works for you. Like look at Pristini and those guys last year. You could easily say like, oh, these guys are okay, and then they go on to in the game and they're just dominant. Like sometimes it just clicks with certain people and it could work for you, and it's gonna happen at some point for Hook. Don't know when, but he's gonna be on a team where he just ends up winning like back to back championships, and all this is gonna be put to bed. His skill level is unquestionably high, and like that's my opinion on him.
I do agree that he's one of the best individual players in the world. I do think that he was a bit overrated though last year, just because in the beginning he was super hard carrying his team, and I think a lot of people like thought he was better than he was. I think he was like just getting a bunch of kills, and when he went over towards that Spice team, he had a lot to learn, and they got pretty frustrated with some of the plays that he was making from time to time, and I think maybe that got in his own head a little bit and it affected him.
I agree with that, but I also think that comes from being on a bad team to start the year, and then he also joined a team where their roles were a bit off because they ended up having 3 SOG players and no second AR. So like that, even though he got into a better situation, the situation he went into still wasn't that great.
Either way, Hook's on a team with some good players now that can really bring the best out of him. He got, Hook really got what he wanted, right? Like he wanted a team with Shotzi going into this, like
Shotzi and Illy.
Yeah, and Illy. So he got his friends there, and then he has Clay and Krim who can help develop this guy. So I think, he's in another great situation. We'll see if he can capitalize. Like right now, they look great. All right, moving down. Last year, we saw young players like Brack, Skies, and Envoy break through onto the pro scene from battling through the AM bracket. So, what players from the AM scene are going to break through this year onto pro teams by the end of the season? This is a difficult question.
This is a weird question.
Yeah.
This is a weird question because Envoy, I mean, these guys were all in the pro league, right? I don't think any of them started in... Where was Skies? Did Skies start in open bracket? I don't think he did. I think he was on Accelerate to start the year or something like that. He never was. None of these guys ever started in AM bracket last year.
I think pretty hard for that one. Yeah, I mean, these guys are all like. Only one that was like kind of unknown was Brack.
Yeah, but he was on Midnight, who was one of the best teams to start the league early on.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard this year because people just got put into really good spots, and the only people we haven't seen play on a high level are Shotzi, Illy. I think. I mean,
it would just be those guys, and they're already on a team. So like, who's gonna break through? I don't know, man. I'm not really like I'm drawing a blank when it comes to like players on the cusp. Like all the like major search and destroy all stars have like gotten their chance finally. I think Illy was like the last one, right? So I guess we'll just see a new wave of talent coming in this year, like in the path to pro stuff. Players getting opportunities. We'll see. Can't answer that one yet. Zoom, hit me with that like halfway through the season. Frosty played last year.
Yeah, scroll down to the people that ask questions early, bro. These are like the newest ones. Scroll down and see some of the early questions.
These are by best. Where do you want me to go?
Oh, these are by best?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
We can just keep going this way.
Go ahead.
All right. Love the idea of this thread. Thank you. This is a question from Ali Kennedy. How do you think the introduction of home events in the franchise system will affect the lives of the broadcast talent, and do you think it opens the door for more potential aspiring casters and analysts? I don't really know if that's a question for us.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how to answer. I don't even know how it's going to be all working myself. So
yeah, I think still waiting on some answers for that. I mean, I do think like stuff franchising and getting obviously bigger and better, that can only be good for potential aspiring casters and analysts going forward. You know what I mean? So I think that's great. But moving on to your next question, if you could bring back one map from old COD titles to add to the competitive rotation, which would you choose and why?
Oh, mine's always Strike. I think Strike's the best COD map that's ever been, and it's only been in one COD. They just bring it back. I think Strike's just so amazing. There's a power point on the map at the window, solid cuts on the map,
traditional power spots.
Traditional power spots. It works for every game mode. At least that's except for Hardpoint. I have no idea, but it works for the traditional game modes. It's such a good map. I don't know. Strike is just amazing.
I think
Easily the
Strike
best
would
map.
work well. I actually wrote like some of the questions like this that I knew I could forget answers to. I actually wrote a couple of my answers down. So I had Strike on there, but I also have Invasion because I think Invasion would be good for this game, and I have Solar. I think Solar would be cool. It'd have to be like revamped.
Solar from AW?
It'd have to be revamped a little bit because of the verticality of it. But I think Solar was a great map, dude. I love that map. I think it would be fantastic, even in 5v5. And I think if I got to pick a map to come back, I think it'd be that one. It'd have to be reworked a little bit, but I think
Man.
that's an amazing map. You didn't like
How
that?
the Yeah, if I had a jetpack strapped to my butt, how am I supposed to get to the top glass? How am I supposed
No,
to get up top?
that's what I'm saying. It'd have to
How
be
am I-
it'd
you
have to be
can't get to half the
reworked.
map.
It'd have to be reworked a little bit. You'd have to like obviously lower that wall, add like places where you can jump up. You'd have to keep that hole, maybe make it a little bit bigger. It worked fine. That map was like vertical, but it wasn't one of the like crazy vertical maps that you couldn't rework and fix a little bit and apply to this, like this to apply to boots. I think it could work. That map was sick, especially just like the way it played, like the top area, how it was like just one. Why are you jaw dropped? I don't think that this is that wild. Chat, do you agree with me that you can bring back Solar, rework a little bit, and tailor it for boots?
It was a good map in AW for that game, for the jetpack and dashing and stuff. It wouldn't work in boots.
I don't think just because the map was great for jetpacks, like you can't fix it and bring it back. I think easily you can bring it back. I mean, it's like 3 lanes, it's like 2 different sides that are like pretty linear. Like I think it would work well. I think it could work well.
All right, fair enough. I want to.
All right. Anyways, moving
This
on.
guy said the SD scene often starts strong and active at the start of COD cycle, but in
strong
previous years has
opinions.
died off quite dramatically. What are the biggest keys to the S&D scene remaining active and sustainable for longer, in your opinion? Ant, you want to go first?
All right, yeah. So, the reason the S&D scene starts off strong is because the game drops, right? Everybody's so excited because we've just had 2 months where we were playing throwback games and we were playing search and destroy challenges. We want to play search tournaments, right? Like we want to be the first people. Everybody wants to be that first person to learn how to play search. They're playing all these tournaments, but this is what happens, and it's the tournament website's fault. They put up 100 tournaments a day, and people enter 2-3 tournaments at a time. You're waiting an hour and a half for a match. The game has just come out, so you don't want to wait that damn long to play your next match. And there's like 10 tournaments, and you have to pick which one to enter, and you pick one, and you get unlucky, and there's there's only 4 teams in that one, right? The prize is like $10, and you get bumped out round 1. So then at that point, you look at your teammates, you're like, all right, we need to sign up for all these tournaments at once. And it's this vicious cycle. If these guys somehow were able to just like host maybe 1 or 2 tournaments a day, it would keep the search and destroy scene alive for so much longer. If there's 1 or 2 that people are watching, the prizes would be bigger. It'd be so much better. And I really think that's why it does. I think that's why the search scene dies.
I agree with you.
It gets
One
too
thing
taxing.
off rip, there should be a universal rule set that all the sites just agree on and work on, because it's really annoying where every single time the game comes out, someone gets forfeited because they had some useless thing on in perk 2 or in one of the perk slots that's allowed on one of the other sites, and they just didn't change one of their 5 classes, and some loser kid forfeits them for it because it's technically a rule, even though it affected nothing. The 2 to 3 tournament things is huge. Like, just sitting around an hour and a half waiting just to lose to some kids who've just been grinding their butts off, like, that's just annoying. If you could just run a tournament a day, maybe a tournament or 2 a day, now I know that affects their bottom line, but they could even charge more for that tournament. For me in particular, like, all right, so I'm gonna say this: I'm not poor by any means, but signing up for like 5 tournaments a day,
that's a
at
lot.
like 10 credits a piece. If you don't win those, you're just looking at yourself like, I don't want to play that tournament. Like, I don't want to do that. And I know that's the case for a lot of kids. Like, I'm a grown man. There's got to be a bunch of 16 to like 20-year-old people who just don't even have the money to do that or whatever. Like, they have a certain amount of credits. They spend them all in the beginning of the game. Like, they can't justify continuing to like join multiple tournaments a day at the same time. If you ran a couple tournaments, even if you charge 20 credits, which would be a lot, 25 credits, at least this tournament would be popping because it's the only one.
And the prizes are so small too.
And then if you win that tournament, not only are you a really good search group, you actually are going to benefit from winning the tournament. There's some people that win a bunch of golds. They tweet them out, 3v3, gold #1, like, and then all they did was win like $9. Like, it's really, it doesn't mean anything. So if you actually won that tournament, you'd actually benefit from it, and it'd be huge. the streams would be more popping because it's like we're in the finals of the 5v5 today. Like everyone would be watching. No one else is playing other tournaments.
Yeah.
It would
So
help a lot.
to sum that up, man, for those of you who are listening, like the biggest things to fix it: universal rule set and tournament sites hosting less tournaments. Those two things off the bat, and Search will last a lot longer, right? If they just somehow can figure out a way to do that and coordinate, that's how we keep Search alive a lot longer. All right. He had another question we skipped over. Which franchise will have the best home events, and why is it London? Dude, London is going to be lit, man. That is going to be lit, dude. And their whole team is, like, European, bro. Like, I'm actually excited for that, dude. I think it's going to be sick. But you know what franchise are the best home events other than them? I got to go with Chicago, man. That's my home base, man. That's where I'm from. There's actually a lot of like Call of Duty gamers out there, man. We used to have these local LANs, and they would just be popping. They'd just be huge, full of gamers. So I think we should have some good turnouts at the Chicago events.
He's right. It's London. It's London. The London crowd is just infinitely better than every other crowd that we've been to. And
Chicago's about to stand up, baby. Look at the chat. Chi-Town!
I got to answer. This guy said, Pac-Man, look at that via the business point of view. It wouldn't make sense. And I couldn't disagree with you more. Obviously, in the first week of the game, the tournament sites cash out.
Yep.
But after the first couple weeks, they make no money. They make nothing. Everyone stops playing. The tournaments are already dead. This could continue for a long time. You're just looking at things from a very short-sighted point of view. Yep. These tournaments, these sites are completely useless after the first month. Imagine if 4 months down the road they were still tournaments. Oh my God.
It'd be a lot better. It'd be way more fun as well. Predicted best players by position. I was gonna skip this one. Would you like to answer this?
No, yeah, skip that one.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. I thought this was actually a pretty good question by Biggie Dub Central. There's been a lot of talk regarding JCap about his performances in recent titles, and a lot of people are still expecting him to perform poorly in the eyes of many fans in this title. As far as I'm aware, I may be wrong, JCap is seen as a solid roster piece by many pros, despite not contributing substantially in a slaying aspect. On the other hand, someone like Aches is seen as a much less desirable player compared to JCap. In the eyes of pros, if not, explain how he is viewed by the pro community compared to JCap. Despite having a similar role to JCap on his teams, including straying away from a slaying role. What is the difference between the kind of player JCap is compared to Aches, and how would you guys rank each player's current stock in the pro community, and how would you actually rank these players in terms of individual value to a team? All right, so he wants us to compare JCap and Aches and pretty much break down the dynamic from a point of view of looking at statistics and output. JCap obviously is a lot better friends with a lot of people in the community. That plays a big role as well. JCap in recent years, obviously his output hasn't been that substantial. I think a lot of people think he's easier to play with. I think that's the big thing. Like you can learn the game with JCap, and he's not like as alpha as Aches is. Like Aches is the leader of your team, right? It's kind of like what he says is what goes. So I think JCap's just a little bit easier to play with. And I think that's probably the opinion shared by a lot of pros. And I think that's why people value JCap's stock a lot higher. What would you say, John?
I mean, yeah, and also Aches' stock took a supreme dip in the Jetpack games where, like, if he wasn't so good at talking and just being who he is, he would have fallen off completely because most pros considered him to be completely garbage at those games. And even when JCap was seen to be at his worst in those games, his worst game out of the 3 Jetpack games was Advanced Warfare, and he won champs, right? So, like, I think just people believe that JCap can win even if he doesn't have the most individual talent, and that's why I believe he's on the LA Optic team. They filled the team with tons of talent, and it's not like JCap's not talented, by the way. That's only a community perspective. He has talent. He might not be the most talented player anymore, but he's going to always do the right thing when it comes down to the tournament time. He's learning the game right now. Everyone's saying his stats, like, at this point, is just pointless. It's pointless to say anyone's stats. I don't even care if somebody goes 50-2 right now. I saw someone earlier today talk about, like, that AM team of Pentagram and Infamous, and, like, because they won a couple maps in some
Dylan Rex.
Yeah, like, I simply don't care. The game just came out. Those guys may have been grinding, and that's good for them. Like, good for those guys. Grind. Do what you have to do. but it's early in the game. These people are all learning, and there's a reason why these people are in those positions. I think JCap's a good addition to most teams. As long as, I mean, even on the United team last year, that one after they dropped him, had they dropped Clay, like I think they wanted to at the time, I still think they would have won the same roster with Cap instead of Clay. Like it's just, I think that people just see like 0.8 or point whatever and make too big of a deal of it, and I just don't think it's that.
If
big
you're
of a
looking
deal
straight
when
up
he's
at
playing the right way.
statistics, like maybe you can take it that way. I think just a lot of people regard JCap as a more valuable player than Aches for that reason. Like he's easier to play with, a lot of people would say, and I think a decent amount of the pros regard JCap as a better individual player than Aches as well. But in terms of statistical output, it's pretty similar with those guys for the most part, and I think that's kind of why you're a bit confused. But hopefully we're able to clear it up for you, Biggie Dubs. Moving on. This is another path to pro question. Excuse me. Who do you think has potential to make it from either path to pro or sub spot to the starting roster? In terms of sub spot to starting roster, I think the best odds there are Classic to start on Ultra. I think. I mean, this is just from playing with him and watching him play. I think Classic actually really good at this game right now. Like he thrives in the chaos. Like so, I think, and he's also like a really good teammate. Brings good vibes.
There's no world. He should be a starter if you ask me anyway. So I think he's a very safe bet.
I think they don't know like the ceiling of some of those other guys in the team. So, I think if things start to take a dip towards the negative side over there in the Ultra camp, Classic will start, and I think that's probably your best odds.
Yeah, if it's for me, I always look at the teams that are not like super top heavy. Like so, let's say Optic LA is struggling. Their team just not gonna make a change. All those guys are just too talented. Like whoever their subs end up being, very unlikely that they actually get playing time. So I would always look towards the bottom, like towards Paris, something like that. I know, like whoever's not playing out of like Dens and Luca and all those guys.
Nobody's
one of those guys could possibly get a starting spot eventually and become one of those guys that could take off.
How are you gonna justify sitting anybody on that Optic LA team?
You'd have to make a trade.
Like what? Dude, you have to make
very few people
good
that
trade.
So like, say the team doesn't want to play with Dashy, right? Who do you trade in the community for Dashy?
Somebody has to go. Hold on. Somebody has to go Renegade Rogue to be sat on one of like your top 3 teams. You know what I mean? Like they just have to be like a pain in the ass to the point where it's like this guy has to go to the bench, right?
Right. What if Seth just like one day just wakes up and says, I don't want to play with Formal. Okay, let's trade Formal. Who the hell do you trade Formal for? Formal's one of the most valuable pieces in all of Call of Duty. There's not that many pieces to trade him for. It's impossible. Like, so that it's just hard to imagine those teams subs actually just joining the game.
Yeah.
Dashy for Gunless cannot work, by the way. I know that's a common thought. It'll never work.
Wait, do you think like Gunless on Optic LA would not? No way. Him and Slasher, no, I don't think it can happen again. No, there's that wouldn't be a good trade.
No.
How much do stats matter, sweet ass, in the chat? I think they matter a lot. It depends on what stats you're talking about. If we're just talking about KD on a team scale, I think on like if you measure the team's KD, it matters. I don't know. It just depends on what angle you look at them from, right?
Stats
it's not the end all
aren't
be
that
all.
important as long as you're not getting completely dumped on. Like if you have a 0.9, and it matters the role. Like so, it matters how you're playing. First of all, if you're not a complete baiter on your team and you're just running in, doing what the team needs you to do, and you have a 0.9, that means you went 9 and 10 over an extended period of time. That means absolutely nothing. Like that's fine. You can win perfectly fine with that. If you went 6 and 10 over an extended period of time and you're not playing the correct way, those stats matter. Like you suck.
I mean, that's a very broad question. It really just depends on the stats. And in terms of KD, I don't really think KD matters that much at all, unless you're getting dumped on like 0.8 status. Let's get into another question. Players that played well last year, who do you think will fall off this year?
Due to the slower playstyle?
Is it? It's not too slow right now, but I mean, I think when they update it, it might slow down a bit. The game
That's a hard
naturally
question.
slower.
That's a hard question. And it's not really fair to just take
fair,
someone's name and throw them under the bus in that question.
Most aggravating teammates that fans don't already know about. Okay. Let me think about this for a second, man. Do you have any off the top, John?
We're on Reddit, so if I'm going from Reddit, I mean, never mind. Are we just doing pros, like the current pros, or are we doing all types of known players?
I don't know. Who are you thinking about?
I'm gonna say Parasite.
that fans don't already know about.
What do you mean? Reddit loves Parasite.
Fans know that he's aggravating. What? That's not a good one. I can't even think of one, man.
Aggravating from the... Well, I have one in my head.
I have one in my head.
But I'm not saying it. So.
Enable used to trigger me, dude.
Oh, everyone loves teaming with Enable.
No, he's amazing to team with, but he used to trigger me. Are you talking on an individual basis? I don't know.
Aggravating that fans don't already know about. That's tough.
I like teaming with Ian, but there's just times where he would just make me so mad. The way he asks questions, I guess.
Who do the fans know about?
You know, I mean, pretty much people are pretty open with like who's a good and bad teammate. I think fans know about all like the go-tos. I'm trying to think of like a good one. I don't know. We can come back to it. I don't want to spend too much time here in silence.
Go ahead.
Give us an early T5 player candidate. Just one player you think would go out as T5 MW player once the season is over. Edit. Picking slashers cheating. God dang it.
Dashy.
Think so?
Yeah. Dashy's disgusting, right? Why not?
Yeah.
I think that their team's going to be at the top, or at least one of the top 3 teams, and going to be one of the best players.
Crim 6, dude. Let's go.
All right.
Dallas Empire. All right. He's coming back with a vengeance. Rank the team logos on the website. We didn't do that, did we?
No.
No.
We got to do that at a different time, though.
We'll do that at a different time. Yeah, it's going to take too much time right now. That's a toxic question, Drew. You got 8 points for that one.
No.
Let's go past that one. How do you think teams should/will utilize the subsystem, and which players out there who haven't been announced/signed could be quality subs, and which team do you think they'll fit best at? I don't think teams that picked up good subs will be better in the long run. Oh, I think teams that picked up good subs will be better in the long run. I think a lot of you guys, especially on Reddit, think subs are going to be used more than they will. I don't think subs will be played that often. I don't think we'll see people getting subbed out. Like, I mean, the team that's most likely to do it is like Ultra right now, just because they have so many subs. But yeah, I mean, I think you agree with me in that regard, right, John?
I mean, if I was going to be next level, if I was the coach or a GM of a team, and I had certain players on my team, I might sub them out for like a search and destroy, since if that's in the rules. So like yesterday, I was playing search and destroy with Enable. This is a true story. There's 12 seconds left, and Mud Dog died on the bomb. Okay, so we had the bomb down. The bomb was planted on the bomb. There's 12 seconds left, and Enable's like right in front of the bomb, and he just doesn't check it till 5 seconds, and the guy just ninja defuses in front of him somehow and wins the map. and I'm like, you can't teach this. How the hell are you not checking the bomb? I don't know. So if I had him on my team, he's one of the best respawn players in the game, but in S&D it's kind of lacking. And if I had like
he's gonna sub out.
I don't know, name X S&D player like
Tupac Thug Lord
on my bench, I might throw him in there for an S&D. Why not? Unless Enable dropped 57 kills in the hard point, I might just throw him in there. Like, hey, go out there and win my search and destroy, sub Enable back in. That's like one of the only scenarios I see one of the top teams just like throwing subs in to play. Even then, I don't think that's likely.
All right, moving on. How would you guys handle footsteps? Would you want dead silence as a perk that makes everything completely silent, built-in dead silence, something like COD 4 system, or some other variation?
That's a good question.
I want it to be when you're pre-aiming or crouched, like when you're pre-aim walking, or crouched. Those 3 things, you're silent, even if you don't have dead silence popped, right? And I think that when you're full sprint, you should just always make noise regardless, like a little bit of noise. I think that fixes most of it. What would you want to have it as?
I don't think you need dead silence a perk for the footsteps. Yeah. What I think they need to do is fix the radius of the sound. So by that I mean, if I'm on a certain point in the map, I can only hear to a certain distance. So right now the distance is way too far. So even if I'm sprinting, I should be quiet to some degree to someone on the map. Also, like Nameless just said, if I'm crouching or any type of the slower movement in the game, I should be able to like do it silently, or at least
you should be able to crouch,
quiet.
Man. Like,
you should definitely be able to
make noise when you're like crawling right now.
Yeah, you can't move at all without dead silence activated. So what that turns it into is people with dead silence running around at full speed, and you having to be like completely still on the map, and that's just not cool.
We were playing a wager the other day where I ran up on Gunrunner to the other team's base, and I had dead silence, and I thought I had a little bit more. So before I can get into that warehouse, my dead silence ran out, and I just stood still, and I didn't move the rest of the round trying to catch somebody off guard. Because if you get behind enemy lines and you take one step, they hear you, and you're auto dead. Like there's no strategy involved. Like, so yeah, they need to tweak that. But Ashton's tweet, the community manager, said that they are going to be tweaking dead silence and fixing it. So I think in this next week we'll be able to talk more about it on the next episode. We need that update ASAP, man. We need that. Are you surprised General didn't get on a team even though he had a relatively good year in backup score? Absolutely. I am mind blown that he's not even like a sub somewhere, right? Like it blows my mind. I actually talked to him recently, and yeah, like he was talking to one team, it didn't actually work out for him, and he just said like he's mind blown that he didn't really get too many offers. What is your take on that?
For me, General should easily be starting main AR on like a bottom team.
I think so.
Or at worst a sub. I think that he's proven enough and put enough time in to show that he's a person capable of being an AR in this league. Like I can't name 12 better starting main ARs. And in this game, where you're using multiple ARs a team, he should definitely be playing for someone. And the fact that he's not a sub is kind of ridiculous. I mean, I have no idea what went on behind the scenes with him, but to be on a team somewhere, like, yeah, for sure.
I think so as well. And I think he really wanted to be on a team, man. It just didn't pan out for him. But hopefully the team decides to scoop him up at least as a sub. Is Dallas the best team now, and do you think they would dominate online like they've been doing online? I think they're the best team online right now, and it's very hard to answer that question. There's a lot of solid rosters, and before this game's played on LAN in the league, I think it's going to be completely different, so I cannot answer that question. Thanks for the content. No problem, Staples. Are you posting here? Look at you, only 2 points, man. No love, dude. No love, John.
Tragic. Super tragic.
Pac-Man, this is directed right at you. During the last Codcast, you put New York team as the third best team. The average placing of those players last year was 8.3, and they cumulatively appeared in the top 3 only 4 times. Can you expand on why you are so high on this team, John?
Well, I know for a fact I put them 5th because Lamar texted me and said 5th blocked. So I actually put them 5th. But either way, the placing last year, the placing average for them 8.3 is irrelevant to me. Attach got last place 3 times in a row. As soon as he was off the FaZe roster and joined EG, they got last with like different variations of rosters, and that dragged down that average. So that average is pretty irrelevant. I know it's a cool number to look at, I guess, but it doesn't mean anything. So I expect that team to do a lot better than they all did last year. And at the end of the season, the team with accuracy and attach was extremely close to being united. If you guys don't remember, it came down to like a huge comeback. They had 247 points, and United was like at 160 or 180 or something like that, and they made the comeback. Otherwise, he would have been probably in the winners finals of that tournament, because all they would have to do was beat units for top 3. So I think that team is a lot better than you guys are giving them credit for right
now. Jay Colbs asks, are you guys going to approach GAs differently this year due to franchising, other stipulation contracts? I mean, GAs have always been like not
What do you mean, you guys?
Yeah, and well, we don't make the rules. But GAs have always, I would assume GAs have always been like not allowed, but the players just like do them regardless. There's really no way to stop that if you truly think about it, right? Like,
yeah, players can just say that it's meta and it's what we feel is best for the game and what our team needs to do to win. You can't stop GAs, and most GAs are used to make the game as competitive as possible.
I like this question. Who is the one player, can be anyone, that can fill in on any team at an event and that team can still play well? No practice or knowing ahead of time. Basically, if one guy had to hop in on Saturday, Sunday, regardless of what the team composition is, who do you think would be able to do that, have the most success, both as a team and individually? Man, this would obviously change game to game, but I'm going to try to figure out a player at like every game that could just hop in and play.
Formal. I'll just take Formal.
Yeah, right? Like Octane or Formal, I think.
He could literally just... Yeah, that's a good answer, too.
Octane, he's just like...
He's a Slayer in every game, Formal, and whatever the slaying role is, I would just say, hey, run that and go kill people, and it would work out, I think. Octane's also a good answer because he just posts up an AR and gets all your trades.
I'll go with Octane, right? Like, he plays the same regardless. I think Octane plays like there's like Like his teammates are just on the map as his minions, so it doesn't really matter. And he just goes off every time, right?
I see a guy in the chat that said Priesta, a couple Priestas. That's a really good answer.
Slasher is not a good answer for that. He's
No, it's
too
not.
alpha, dude. He's like gonna come in and be like, wait, why the hell are you guys doing this?
Slasher's teams play well, and he like wants them to play a certain way, and
Yeah.
he loses composure when you're not. So just joining a random team would not be the way to not be a way to go about it.
If they released a pack of remaster maps, would you prefer to have the CDL played on all remaster maps over using any of the new map? Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely, no question about it.
No question. They have to be better.
But they need to fix the spawn system that's built into the game, though. You can take any map, and the map won't work if the spawns don't work. It doesn't matter what's going on. So they need to fix that first.
Yeah, which players got shafted during roster mania? Like who's super talented didn't end up on a team or on a trash team? I'd say Farrell, kind of. I know there was a controversy with something he said a very long time ago, but I mean, he's already publicly apologized for that multiple times. He's been on a team since then. Like he was on 100 Thieves, and community forgave him, and I think that's the main reason he wasn't getting picked up by a lot of teams. And he also released another statement apologizing. He did it when he was very young, and it's to a player that he is. It was a derogatory remark against a player that he played with and won a championship with after the fact. With Kenny. So I think he got kind of shafted, but hopefully in the community's eyes in the future he can fix the way he's viewed, especially on a professional level, and get on a team as a sub. Good luck to him though.
I have two answers for that. Maybe one would be, I think, Pristini.
Oh, Spacely, that's a good one.
Pristini, he was just on a team that won back-to-back. He's been on a pretty consistent team, and then it's not even that his team is that bad. I think Florida actually has potential to be pretty good.
Champs,
Yeah, he just won champs. I just think that Pristini was the leftover, right? He was picked up super late into the process. I don't think that he was treated properly in this offseason. And then probably Looney too, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Looney's
on a team that's placed at the bottom of pretty much everyone's power rankings, and he's a guy that's won in every single game except for Black Ops 4. He's a championship player. Like, there's arguments to say that he could be a really good piece on every single top team that's pretty much out there. I would say, with the exception of Seattle, they already have a bunch of those type of players. But if you could put him on Chicago in certain people's spots,
I think when teams start to underperform, he'll be a player that a lot of people have interest in trying to get on their roster in trade talks. But I don't see him like getting off of that because they're gonna need him on that team.
Yeah, they are.
So I like the Spacely answer in the chat. I think Space gets screwed over every year. But the fact that he's not like a number one sub somewhere also is pretty astonishing, right? Like Spacely could be on Paris. Come on. What? You know what I mean, though? Like,
I mean,
it's crazy, man. It's crazy. But people have different plans for their rosters, It's okay. Which pro has the best shot/gun skill? Well, it's one trait in a player that viewers can't necessarily see, but other pros value in a player a lot. These are like the typical questions you get whenever you do a Q&A. I'm going to go with Octane, just quick and simple.
Best shot?
Best shot, yeah.
I'm going to go with Beezy. Hit snaps. I don't know. That's
Let me try to find another good question. Some of these questions are...
I wasn't watching COD when Pac-Man played. How good was he in his prime? National champ.
No, I'm joking. Pac-Man was like, okay, so he doesn't have to talk about himself. In Call of Duty 4, me and him played since COD 2, since the start of all this competition, game battles, everything. We actually teamed during that game, which was pretty fun. But then going into COD 4, Pac-Man was on Team Fear, and he was the best player in the world. Like the Crim, like the simp of last year. He was dominant at that shit for like a whole year, like untouchable. So yeah, he was like, his peak was higher than 99% of players' peak when he played. And there was a lot of competition in COD 4 too. Like, that shit was hard. So this fool is nasty. He's just old and his hands suck. So his hands are all broken down now, so he can't shoot straight. But he was nasty.
I would actually torture you right now.
Especially like that first year. It's disgusting.
It's you know what it was? I swear, guys, people always say this, and it goes back to that old man conversation. At the time, there just wasn't much to play for. So like, you had your pride and you loved the game, right? So you just grind and get on every day and play. But after you reach the top, that happened to a lot of people that like at some point were at the top. There's Like, what else do you do once you're at the top, right? At that time. Now,
You went and played Halo.
yeah, I wanted to play Halo. I was good at that too. It was just fun. I enjoyed the grind of like learning to get back at that level. Like it just was fun to do. It wasn't about money or anything because there wasn't a lot of it back then. But nowadays.
There's rumored to be true. There's rumored to be a massive overhaul coming to Modern Warfare. Do you think you can save the game like the late patch did for World War II? And what do you think needs to be changed to make the game great? We already went over a lot of this stuff, but yes, just the short answer is a huge update can still save this game. New maps, fix the spawns. Like it can. The game is like
noise, radius.
To be playable. They need to fix the dead silence and the spawns, and that's
yeah,
fine.
because positively, like the guns are like pretty decent. At least the ones used in competitive. If you get rid of the shotguns, and I actually think the snipers are a bit overpowered for search and destroy. But everything else, like the rifles, are pretty balanced. Like the M4's a little bit too strong.
We're talking about the
but
competitive guns that are used. We're not talking about pub shotguns. The 725 is obviously ridiculous.
The gunplay is pretty fun. I think there's like slight tweaks that could happen to make sure you have like maybe more gunfights. Maybe the guns fill up just a little bit faster, but not too much because the cameras are insane when you jump around corners in this game. But just stuff like that, I think it'd be fine. And as long as you didn't hear people coming from a mile away, it'd be fun.
Slash's mentality is Scribs just to shoot his gun. I mean, he's just frustrated. He's a very like strategic player. So if a game doesn't make sense, he's gonna get angry. So in your question, I mean, you're kind of talking about how he has like that toxic mentality. Well, yeah, he should probably fix it, obviously. But I think he's in the camp of he's waiting for an update, whereas a lot of pro players are waiting for one. So I can understand his frustration. But yeah, if you're going to scrim, might as well not waste your time, right? And just try to focus and not rage. But it's so difficult to do that when you're spawning right next to somebody. And I remember going through this story. I think the rest of the questions are repeat questions. Okay. I'm going to go through them real quick.
This guy in the chat said TTK is way too fast. So that's time to kill for the people that don't know. And I don't agree with that, actually. I think that we're just off Black Ops 4 where the time to kill was slower. But most COD games that were pretty good, the time to kill is pretty damn fast. Like from COD 4 to MW3, they were all pretty fast. Time to kill is fine. Headshot multiplier needs to be dumbed down. Like it's ridiculous. Go ahead.
This hot take is I read it
and I just said, whatever, bro.
Yo, I'm gonna read this. Goose 4390 hot take. Karma is the most overrated player of all time and hasn't been top tier since Ghost. What? He won 2 of his champs rings when the competition was awful compared to today, and was carried to the rest of championships by Formal, Scump, Krem, and Dashy. Oh my, I'm losing full reading this, dude. Should I even continue to read this? I don't think Karma's bad, but he is not even close to as good as everyone seems to think he is, and he is just an average player benefit from being teammates with some of the most talented players of all time. In all of his tournaments after Ghost, he rarely would go positive for the entire events and lacked in the OBJ category as well if you look at the numbers. Overall, what I'm trying to say is Karma is far from the GOAT. Is not as good as everyone thinks. Obviously, he's a good player, but he's just even close to as good as he used to be. The numbers, eye test, and levels of talent he's had around him speak for themselves. That is a hot take, and that's also like an ignorant take as well, man. Like,
I mean, that's a hot take for the purpose of being hot.
Yeah. I mean,
most overrated player of all time is ridiculous. He's won 3 rings, and I am also in the camp that he's not the GOAT. Just because he has 3 rings.
I mean, would you agree he's top 3 regardless all time?
But he's still at the top of the top. Like, you played against him, maybe you'd understand more.
Yeah, he's annoying, dude.
Super annoying, plays weird angles. He takes long routes. Like,
I mean, we were talking about the guy, like,
don't come up in, like, whenever I play their team in Black Ops 3, I thought by far their best player was Formal, right? But the most annoying player would be Karma, always hitting, like, weird flanks and pinches and always being there. Like, he has a really good mind for it, even if he can't verbalize it himself. When you play him, you know, like, he knows what he's doing on the map.
Could the
this take is just crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm not even going to talk about it more. It's insane. Could the franchise format actually hurt the viewership in this game? In BO4, the Vegas tournament rode the wave of popularity at the initial release, and we saw extremely high reviews for COD Tourney. Their first scheduled event is in January, 2 months after initial release. With this, coupled with the negative feedback, could it significantly damage the CDL in the long run? Possibly. I don't think so. I think that we're still waiting on a big update, which once they fix the game, I think people are going to love it. And I think once the ball gets rolling on the CDL, it's going to be so hype that everything will be lit, and it'll be so consistent that the viewership will be solid. So I don't think so. What do you think, John?
I agree with you. I agree with everything you just said. Actually,
It hasn't started yet. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So,
Guy in the chat said, "I have an important question. Do you think
all
the
right,
young
that's
players will
actually
have a
it for
higher
these
chance
questions.
to win?" I'm not really sure what that means, Master King. I think the young players will have a higher chance to win. Higher chance than what? I mean, and
What's his
which young
question?
players are you? He says, "Do you think the younger players will have a higher chance to win?" I don't know what that
It's a
means.
bad question.
I want to answer that. I do, but I'm not sure how to. And I don't know which players you're talking about. Maybe if you were more specific, I could help you out.
Okay, let me pull some of these. Let me pull the chat up now. That took us a while, man. That took us like 35 minutes to go through that.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions.
This is good though,
But we got to
man.
get the community engaged, right? So they can be heard for sure.
Guys, so that's going to wrap up the question segment of this and pretty much the show. We'll take a couple from the chat. Going into next week, we're going to try and get a guest on for the next episode. So is there anybody you guys would particularly want us to try to get on? Obviously, I know you guys are going to say like Formal Scump, etc. You got to remember those guys are live all day long. So give us a couple different suggestions and we'll reach out and see what we can get. Rich, I didn't see your question. What was it?
Yeah, got to answer. Should newer player voices be weighted the same as veteran players when talking about the game issues? So you're saying like towards the studio, like those kind of issues to the game? Of course they should. Everyone's grinding the same game. Like just because you're a veteran doesn't mean that your voice means any more than a newer player. They're putting in the same amount of hours, probably more. So they probably understand the issues more so than even the older players.
A lot of people keep asking about John. I can't comment on it. I don't really know much.
Wait, what are they asking? Juanito?
Yeah.
Oh, well, guys, come on. All right, this is all I'm going to say about John, because we can't field questions about this every single time we do the show. John is obviously a player that should be on a team. So whatever happened behind the scenes is something that obviously no one's talked about publicly, and there might be a reason for that.
Yep.
So that's all we really can say for that.
Is that the one Gunjar fan in the world? Nick, right there?
Probably is. Pakunsa as a fan, let's go. What do you guys... Let's see. What players do you want to see in a ring the most? I don't have one yet. Win a ring the most. Mine are Octane, Gumless, Zuma, Enable, and Slacked. That's
what do you
a
think
lot
about
of people.
Merc tweeting about being no rank? Do you think there will be or no? Who knows? I don't think Merc knows.
That's a tweet every year. Or that's a thing every year, the lack of ranked.
Merc doesn't know if there's going to be a ranked or not. He's just tweeting.
You know, Minnesota, here's the thing with ranked. They can't start the game with ranked because ranked has to do with what we decide is the competitive rules and playlists. So the only way to actually do that is to have a Call of Duty that's based on competition.
Which caster analyst would have the best chance of coming back and competing? Come on, bro.
Me.
You really think you would have a better chance of coming back than I would at competing?
Absolutely. What? I'm easier to deal with.
I don't know, man. I think I could come back and get like a solid team right now.
I can come back and get 6th place. Right now. I just gotta get the right spot.
It's nice you believe in yourself, but realistically, I'm better than you. I could come back.
What team would even take you?
I think I could get Nagafin, Space Lane, those guys to team with me right now if I came back.
They're not in the... I could get a franchise spot low key.
Well, all right. Now you guys can see the delusion I deal with on a day-to-day basis. Thoughts on Immortals rallied Hitch beef yesterday at NAMELESS and Pac-Man. Both coming out of a place of passion. I think Hitch is was kind of emotional during it, probably that whole situation that went down with Optic. It's because it's so close to him, and maybe he was blindsided by that. But I tend to lean towards the side of rallied in that discussion.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think that Hector did sell his organization, and it was a business move, and I think I think that fans are upset that the team is still using Optic and Green Wall, but they purchased it. They purchased something for that amount of money. You're gonna use it. It doesn't make sense otherwise. And I hear the sentiment that it's like they cared about the league spot and blah blah blah. They probably did, but they obviously also care about the Call of Duty spot. That's why they're involved. Oh.
Whatever happens after you sell it, it happens, you know. So I'm leaning towards the reality side of that argument. I don't think that even needed to be done on Twitter, regardless. Like that's stupid. You've been watching Nation on the Sticks on Espino's gameplay, bro. Always been a decent search player, dude. He's doing his thing, bro. Providing some content, grinding. He's been getting to semis and finals of tournaments, so.
All right. This guy keeps asking the same question over and over. Which franchise did a better job with the branding when it comes to visuals and model? And I think that Ant and I are probably just going to make that a thing in one of the episodes. Where
next episode we'll do that.
Next episode, maybe we'll give you guys a place to rank all of the branding yourselves, and we'll bring it up on stream here next week.
Dude, you clean your room for the Codcast. My room stays pretty fresh, man. There's nothing that really gets dirty in here, bro. Like, I just make my bed and I'm valid, bro. Every time I do my laundry, I insta-fold it and put it away, so my shit stays fresh, dude. It's got to be presentable, you know. You know what I'm saying?
NAPTB top 3. Yes.
John clearly didn't clean his damn room. Jeez.
What do you mean?
Shit's a pigsty, bruv.
What are you talking about? All I have back there is a backpack.
You got wires coming out of your window.
That's a wall, and that's because the internet, bro. I can't get like what?
How much come on, bro. $0. I'm not even reading that. T3 players and BL2 Ghost Knight. Okay, now we're getting to like the broad, like arcing questions. I don't really want to answer those.
What city missed out of the league in your opinion? That's a statement that. Where a better way to phrase that question would be, where would you like a city or a franchise to be? And my answer is Vegas or Tokyo.
I think I'm gonna wrap the show up now. We're just at 73 minutes. I try to keep it at 60 every episode, but you know, there's just a lot of questions in this one, and we were just chilling, man. We were just hanging out. Is there anything else you want to address before I wrap it up?
No, I just want to say thank you guys all for coming through. I love all you guys. I appreciate the support. It's great. We're gonna keep this up for you guys. And what do you guys want to hear us talk about next week?
Yeah,
let us know.
Yeah, let us know, man. Tweet us. It'll probably be easy if you guys use the hashtag Codcast if you have anything that you really want us to talk about. But I'm gonna have another Reddit thread for the next episode. It'll go up the day prior, and on the next one, I'm gonna like select things prior, so we don't spend such a long time on it to talk about. I'll select certain statements in there. But yeah, thank you guys for rocking with us, man. The last episode did great. This one as well. It'll be on YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. Probably tonight, honestly. I'll try to get it all up there. A hot take segment, yeah, maybe we might do that stuff soon. If there's anything you guys want us to talk about, make sure you tweet it to us or post it in that new Reddit thread. Much love and appreciation, everybody. And we'll catch you next Wednesday at 7 p.m. East.